Welcome back to the Property Gurus. Today we're going to look at the loft that has now been completed and focus in on some of the design features that have made it such a success. So here we are looking at the staircase, the new staircase that's been built. Now, there's a few features here worth looking at. We've spent a lot of time making this area really fit in nicely. So this has all been created. This window was already here, so we've managed to keep the window, so you can see that we've put the plaster around the corner of the window. We've managed to keep it, so that's nice. And then we've done a nice sweep on the plaster, and that's been achieved by using mesh and building up that plaster. So if you're working on your own design, put a bit of extra effort in. You can see it sort of curves up. It's a really nice finish. It really gives aesthetic value. Ask your builder to do that rather than just putting the square plasterboard. It's less likely to crack and just looks better in the long term. Moving on to the stairs, you may have seen some of our other videos, but the existing floors here, we'd already put oak floor everywhere in this house. So to tie in with that, we have clad the new staircase in oak. You can look at that in more detail on our other videos, but it really gives it that high quality finish that just gives you a really smart, clean, modern look as you come up these stairs. So that's been an absolute winner. And then the other feature that we would definitely recommend on every single loft conversion is to put some natural light into the stairwell. So you can see here, we've fitted a window onto the new gable wall. So this is a hip to gable, so we've got a square vertical wall here. That's bringing in huge amounts of natural light. We've got the lights on at the moment just for this video, but you'd be able to come up here perfectly fine right up until dark just from the illumination from that window. And that makes a big difference because it makes this area feel part of the natural flow of the house. If you didn't have it, this would be dark. You'd have to have the lights on even during the day, even during the summer. Definitely recommended. So if you don't have a gable wall, such as this one, a vertical wall, then you can get Velux windows that will go into the ceiling above where you are, or you can have a dome. But definitely look into that. Get your builder to let some natural light into the area, because it will make a huge difference to the look of your loft conversion. So coming up the stairs, as we come to the door to the room, under the building regulations in the UK, when you add a loft conversion, you have to make sure all of the doors in your house are fire doors. That's not standard. So we've had to change every door in this house. I'm giving you a sweep here of this door. We made the extra effort to put in oak finish doors. So these doors weren't very expensive. We got them from an online retailer. They came unfinished. So we've applied the same oil to these doors that we applied to the floors, so they are similar looking in colour. This is Osmo oil, that's just a satin clear oil, but you can see that the quality of the door really then invites you, and it's showing you that this is a high quality finish. To add to that, we've added some fittings that, again, not massively expensive. They're not going to set you back in terms of your budget for the loft. This is a very small piece of expenditure. But if you get something that's a little bit more expensive than standard, so this is a polished chrome finish, polished finish handle, rather than just a standard handle and a standard switch, it just gives you that extra feeling of quality. So let's go and have a look inside the room. Now, one of the features here is that we've carried the wooden flooring through. So this is the same wooden flooring that we can see downstairs when we look into the rooms that are already here. It's the same flooring, so we brought it through. One feature is that there's no break, so you don't want a threshold break here. Builders and workmen quite often want to put a break in when there's a door. They just feel the need to put some sort of door threshold. Don't let them do that, because it spoils the look. So here we've got the landing area, and it carries on straight through, and it just, this extra metre or so here gives the room an extra feeling of depth. It makes it feel bigger as you open this door, and it just invites you in and gives you that high quality feel that you're after. So let's step into the room and have a look at some of the features in here. So the first feature, similar to what we had on the landing, is the natural light. So the pitched roof, which is on the front of the house here, we've got 2 Velux windows. Again, this is something you can put one in. It's slightly cheaper, but it makes a huge difference. It brings a lot of natural light into this room and just gives you the feeling of space. Because a Velux window is set back naturally, you've got this depth in the window. It makes it feel a little bit bigger in here. So even though this is pitched roof, you can walk all the way through to the window, and you get a feeling that it's slightly higher because there's a cutout in the ceiling. So that adds to the feeling of space and light. And having 2 of them just brings in a lot more light. And then what we have done, we've matched up a couple of storage doors underneath the Veluxes just to give it that sense of symmetry. So it just looks like it's been designed perfectly, which it has. So that's a nice feature. And then on the Velux, make sure if you're painting your ceilings white that you get this white finish, because these come in a brown pine finish, and quite often people put them in and it just looks odd. So don't do that, get the white ones. Going back to a bit more design. So as I mentioned before, under the building regs, you have to have a landing area here. Before the door, you have to have 850 mil minimum. We've got about 1 meter here from the edge, this edge of the top step through to the doorway. And that's a safety feature to make sure people don't fall down the stairs, or there's no accidents. Because we had to bring this wall forward 850. We could have just cut that back and had a very odd shape in here, but we decided that the 850 gave us the natural built feeling to put a wardrobe in here. So we had to bring this wall forward anyway because of this landing, and then it just happens that that is the perfect depth for a wardrobe. So we squared the wall off across where the door came in, and that's created a really nice built-in wardrobe. And as you can see, we've got enough height all the way across to put a nice square frame in, and we thought that adding a mirror gives you that concept of additional space. The beauty of mirrors, the magic of mirrors, is that it makes everything look twice as big. So if we go all the way back here, we can see when you look down that because of the reflection in the mirror, it makes it look much bigger, even though it's actually, if I turn it towards the door of the ensuite, that's how big it is really. When you're looking at a mirror, the concept makes it feel bigger. And if you've got your bed opposite that, it will make the room feel bigger. It reflects light and just makes it a more pleasant living space. So that's one benefit. The other main benefit of having the built-in wardrobe is obviously the storage space. So there's a couple of tips here. A hanging rail, you want to put that at 1.2 meters. Most clothes hang down somewhere between 800 and a meter, and that gives you an extra couple of 100 mils at the bottom where you can store some shoes, shoe boxes, anything you want at the bottom. So 1.2 meters gives you hanging space plus some storage space at the bottom. Another tip here, make sure your floor continues through all the way into the wardrobe. You can see here, it looks so much better if the floor continues. There's nothing more annoying. You open the wardrobe and there's a drop down to the original floorboards or the chipboard. Get the wood to go through, it looks much better. And carry the skirting board through as well. So you can see here, skirting boards on either side, and we've fitted it inside as well, and it just gives it that high quality finish. For the shelving, usually we've gone for 300 mils here of depth, which is about right if you're stacking clothing or anything else in here. So we've fitted 2 shelves standard, and they've been fitted on battens. So if you look in here, you can see that there's a wooden batten. There's about a 2-inch batten that's been screwed to the wall. We painted it white, and then that's sitting on that. And then at the top, we had a bit of space that it's slightly constricted. You can see that the ceiling is slightly sloping in here. So we fitted an extra shelf in there, a top shelf, which is slightly set back. So you can see I put my hand up. You can put things in here in boxes, extra bit of storage. It's a bit awkward to get to, but we've tried to maximize the usable space. But it's again, additional storage, which is what everybody needs. Everybody needs as much storage as possible. So that was a design feature. Now, we did consider running that wardrobe all the way across to the wall where these two doors are situated. So we could have had a slightly angled wardrobe with some shelving to the left. But actually, what we thought, because the stairs, when we go back out to the stairs do not go all the way to the front of the house, as you can see. They only go to the edge of the wardrobe. So we had this extra space. Initially, the builder wanted to close this off and have a landing at the top here, so we would have the staircase and then a seating area, which is a complete waste of time. So what we thought actually was better, because it's about 2 meters deep, we thought that this could be used as either a home office or a dressing room or something of that nature, which will basically give us some extra usable space in this room. So as you can see here, we've carried on the skirting board and the flooring, and this space is about 1.2 meters wide by about 2 meters deep. Now it's got restricted head height, as you can see, but you can walk down, this main section here is about 2 meters tall, so you can walk down it. Most people could walk down that quite comfortably, but you can certainly put a desk in that area or a dressing table or something that you'd want to use. So if you wanted to work from home, you could set up a PC here and a desk and use that very nicely as your home office. We made sure that the sockets matched that concept. So not only have we put a socket here, but we've also put a socket right in the corner so you'd be able to have some power. And we've also put a separate switch to this area so you can switch the light on and off to this particular space. So it's all about thinking through the space you're working with and getting your design right before you start the build. So here, the door gave us the idea of, we had to bring that wall forward, 850. That created the space for the wardrobe, and that then left us this space to use as a home office work environment. So the door really was the driver, but then we had to design what we were going to use everything else for. So think it through, think what you want. If you want a home office, if you can get it, then even if it's a small space like this, it will be invaluable in future. It's worth thinking through the options. Never let your builder say, oh, we're just going to close that off, because that's the easy thing to do. Don't let them do that. Here's a good example over here. So on this wall, we've got a chimney breast. So the chimney comes through from down below. And so the right-hand part of this wall is set back. The builder initially said to us, well, we may as well just square that off and just carry that all the way through. So what would have happened then is here, where we've got this setback, we would have had the wall continuing at that level all the way across, and we'd have lost this small section of space here. Now that may not seem like a lot of space to be bothered with, but actually, when you live here, if you look at this space now, if you take a step back, that is a perfect area to fit a wardrobe. So we've got, between the back wall and this window, is about 800 mils deep, which is the size of a wardrobe. So now, if you want to, you could fit a really big wardrobe in here, so 2 meters wide by 800 deep in that space. If we'd have allowed the builder to carry this wall on at the same level all the way through, we wouldn't be able to do that. We would only have about 400 or 500 of additional space. So think through in the future. And the same with the window. So here on the back wall, we could have installed a much larger window, would have let more light through. However, what we have now to the left of the window as we look at it is another space that could be used for a wardrobe, some drawers, a desk, whatever you want in here. So we've got a lot of flexibility going forward. We've got potential to put a wardrobe or a desk on that side. We've got potential to put a wardrobe or a desk here. And so you've got to think through the flexibility. Don't make your window too big. Don't let your builder square off any walls, because it's easier for him to do that. Make every inch count. Just get all the usable space and think about what you're going to do in the future. The other thing on the window worth considering, see a lot of loft conversions where people have Juliet balconies. So rather than having a window here, you would have a balcony that would go from floor to ceiling. So if we'd have done that, People seem to be drawn to Juliet balconies, so they think, oh, that'll be quite a nice feature. I'll have floor-to-ceiling glass. However, if we'd have done that, firstly, where do you put your radiator? Because the radiator can't go underneath the window, so then your radiator has to go somewhere else, so that's a problem. Secondly, you can't put anything in front of those doors because they're glass and they have to be able to open. So it means all the floor space around your window can't be used. And thirdly, how are you ever going to use a balcony anyway? You're not really going to stand out there. And finally, if you've got children, it's just an added piece of stress if you've got doors that potentially open and they could climb out onto your balcony or your balustrade. You don't really want that. So we would always recommend having a window rather than a Juliet balcony. Let's have a quick look at the sockets and the switches in this room. Touched on it before. So first thing here on this, for the main switch for the room, we've got dimmer switch. So we've got 16 spotlights in here on a dimmer. And the great thing about that is as you turn them down, it can really change the feel of the lighting. So at night, if you're in here, maybe watching TV or just chatting or whatever you might be doing, you can turn the lights down and it really makes it a more pleasant space to be in. Or if you want it bright, you can do that. So we went for the dimmer. It costs slightly more for a dimmer, and the lights fittings are slightly more expensive, but it's marginal. It's really, it's not a lot of money in the context of your loft conversion, but definitely get a dimmer. We could have split it. We could have had two different rings here. So one could have been on one controller, one on the other. That's an option. We could have definitely done that. We didn't. Again, as we mentioned here, this is a switch. One of these is for this area, whereas the desk area, and the other switch is for underneath these cupboards that we will show in a minute. So just thinking through what you might want on, what we might not. As we mentioned before, we've gone for polished chrome fittings throughout. Just gives it that slightly more upmarket feel. Looks a bit better than if you have white plastic. Doesn't cost a lot more, does make a big difference. On the sockets, make sure when you're designing your loft that you put plenty of plug sockets in. So in this room, I would always recommend putting at least one in every corner. But if we look in this room, we've got one in this corner for the desk, one here, and one on the other side. And the concept here is, if you were to put a large bed in this room, you might want to put the bed against those doors. So therefore you have a socket either side of the bed, if you've got a double bed in here. Turning onto this wall, same concept. If you wanted to put a bed on that wall, then you could do that. And we've got a socket on either side for that concept. Turning around here, again, if you look at this, if we're thinking about having a desk either in this side or at that back wall, then you want some power for that. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 double sockets in this room. That's a lot of double sockets, but it is annoying if you've got a newly built space and you don't have enough sockets to work with. Make sure you have more sockets than you'll ever need, and then you'll never complain about it. Moving on to the storage space here. So the other thing we were very keen on, as well as having the work area, is to make sure that this section in the restricted head height was we had maximum usage of that. So if we look down, you can see the slope on the ceiling. This wall is about 1 meter high, so beyond that it's less than 1 meter tall. The builder initially wanted to close it off and just have this wall as the final part of the room. That's such a waste of space, so we were never going to allow that. And then secondly, they wanted to stop the flooring. So the problem with that, if you don't carry your flooring through, and I don't just mean the wooden flooring, but also the subfloor, so the chipboard floor and the insulation, if you don't carry it through, when you open these doors, there would be a big drop down, and it makes it really awkward to store anything if everything's dropping down 12 inches. It also makes it much colder if you don't put insulation underneath it. So we wanted to make sure that this looked like and felt like part of the existing room. So if we just go in here, firstly you can see the flooring carries through, there's no break, which is really important. It feels like it's part of the room when you look at it. It feels like a continuation of the room, makes it feel bigger. Next point is that we made sure there was some skirting board put in here. So we've carried the skirting board all the way around, so it feels more like part of the room rather than a cupboard. The next thing, we got them to plaster the walls. So you can see here, they've plastered and painted it. So it feels like the ceiling is continuing. Not every builder will do that. You know, they won't, some of them might not even want to put plasterboard on it, might want to leave it just the insulation. Don't let them do that. So work as if this is part of the existing room, and then you'll have an amazing usable space. And the last thing is to make sure they put some lighting in here, because what you don't want is you come in the middle of the night or when it's dark and scary and not very friendly. Put some lighting in here. It doesn't cost very much, but it'll make it much more pleasant to use. And then on your cupboards, the cupboard doors, we've split our doors into two, and the reason for that is that it makes it much easier to just access quickly. If this was one big door, and if you can imagine in the future, if we've got a bed that's sitting in front of those doors, to open one door, it's a really big swing, whereas with two doors, you only have to open, to access it, it's a much smaller swing. If you look at the swing on that, if this was one door, it would be twice the length, and therefore you'd have to move everything. It just makes it more difficult to get in and out of. So splitting the doors into two is a handy feature. And another little design tip, we put a magnetic catch. So this is a very cheap thing to buy. Magnetic catch on one side, little metal clasp on the other. And when it shuts, it just sucks it in, keeps it nice and neat, make sure that it closes properly. Get some handles. These handles came in a pack of 10. Really inexpensive, but just a nice quality look. Makes it feel a bit more at market, just in keeping with the rest of the room. So let's have a look over towards the ensuite. Same fittings, same handle, same door. Just gives it that quality feel. So when you look at we've got the main door to the room, matches, looks nice. So one thing to work on here, which way to open your door. So situation of the door is always key. We've fitted our door in the middle of the room. The reason for that is that we're maximising the space. So this ensuite is only 1.5 metres deep. The reason we wanted to minimise it was to give maximum floor space. So we've got maximum usable space. 1.5 metres is enough to build an ensuite. It's 2 metres wide. We've put the door in the middle. So you'll see as we open the door, the benefit of that is that we're able to do a full walk-in shower to the left. So the door opens out, which again is very important, gives us more space, just allows us to use all the floor space in there without having to worry about the door swinging in. And then because the door's in the middle, we're able to set the whole left-hand side to make a shower. So this shower, the full width of the room is 1.5. This shower tray is 1.2 metres deep. So we've got about a 300 millimetre section at the rear. So if we go in, we can see we've got about 300 millimetres of tile here, which is one tile. So 1.2 metres, that's a big shower. So it's nice, it's luxurious. We've gone for a shower tray because it's much easier to manage and fit. You can make it a wet room, but we found issues with wet rooms. With a shower tray, you've got a raised up section here. It's easy to fit the plumbing underneath it, and it comes in one piece. It's just much simpler to fit, and it's quite cheap to buy. So we bought the shower tray and the shower doors. We've fitted it wall to wall, so you can see that the bar that comes in this goes from one side to the other. So that's all came, we just bought that as a set. Then inside, we decided to put a wall-mounted shower head with an arm. So you can buy these very inexpensive. Just get the plumber to fit it so that you've got the outlet at the top. And then down here, we've got a handheld shower, which is handy. Most people want one of these if they don't want to get their hair wet. And then we've got a Hudson Reed shower controller, thermostatic valve. So it's got 3 dials, one for the temperature, one for the power and one to select to go for handheld or for overhead. And because we had this 300mm deep area, we decided to put some storage in. So we built a really nice storage shelf here. We put some chrome trim around it to give it a nice finish on the edge. Put silicone inside, keep it nice and waterproof. And that's a really big storage area to put all of your shower gels and shampoos and everything else. And then because we had extra space, we decided to put a decorative area above. We put some lights in it. These are decking lights, which we put in here, waterproof. And that's somewhere where you might want to put a feature. You could put a plant or some candles or something just to make the area feel a bit more upmarket. In terms of tiling in here, we've gone for polished porcelain. These are 600 by 300s and they're laid horizontally in a slab format. To break it up, we put a mosaic in. This comes in a 300 by 300 sheet. So we've just cut out two, put them, and they go all the way around the bathroom. So to give it a nice feel, just breaks up the grey tiled look, gives it a little bit more interest and looks a bit more upmarket. So quite a nice feature. Moving across to the sink, we've gone for a vanity unit. This comes as a kit, so you get the sink and the cabinet together. The benefit of this is that it gives you the storage. So we've got built-in storage in here, so you can have whatever you need, any cleaning equipment or anything else that you want to keep in here out of the way, nice and clean and tidy. Comes with a nice resin sink. We bought a single piece tap, not particularly expensive, but looks nice, modern, clean. And to go with that, we just got a silver bottle trap, so just gives it, again, a nice finish, looks neat and tidy. A bit better than the plastic fitting that you can get, only slightly more expensive, but worth spending a little bit on that. Alongside that is the toilet. It's a close coupled toilet, modern, clean, got a soft close lid on. Would always recommend get soft close, just a bit more at market, just feels better and is much better to live with. Moving round, we've got the towel radiator. This is slightly more expensive than your standard chrome tile radiator, but I think it's worth a little bit extra just to get something that feels a bit more modern. We fitted this coming out of the wall, so we've got angled valves on here. Again, just looks a bit better than if it came up through the floor and you have pipework on display. So worth planning ahead when you're building it. You can see in one of our other videos we've gone into a bit more detail on that. And then finally in here, we've got the mirror. Now, a mirror does not cost a lot of money to buy, but can give you an amazing finish. So if you look here, this mirror is a metre high by about 1.5 metres wide, so it's filling the room. What it does, it makes the room feel twice as big. So as you enter into the room, you're instantly hit with the reflection of the radiator here, and it just makes the whole room feel double the size. We fitted it flush with the tiles, so the tiles are above here, and then we've put the same tile trim that we had on the corners all the way around the mirror, and that gives it a really nice upmarket feel that helps it tie in really nicely. So really impressive, really nice finish. Just to finish off, we put a shaver socket in here. People don't really use it a lot for shaving, but they do use it for charging their toothbrush, so I recommend putting one of those in. And we've got a little storage area here. This has got spare lights for this lighting and also allows us to access the electrics behind that in the event that there's a problem with that lighting. So that's the end of the tour. Hopefully that's given you a few ideas as to how to go about designing your own loft conversion. You can see here we've thought through everything in terms of how we were going to do the bathroom, the storage, the details, all of the switches and sockets, the lighting, the stairs. Hopefully it's given you some ideas. Thanks for watching and we'll see you again soon. Thanks, bye.